Thanks for staying with us. Now, gang violence continues to ravage large parts of Cape Town. But since December, there have been key arrests made in the notorious underworld. This week alone, 4 suspects, including alleged gang boss Nafiz Modack, were arrested in connection with the murder of Lieutenant-Colonel Charl Kinnear and the attempted murder of criminal lawyer William Booth. Now, to speak more about this, let's get on the author and Daily Maverick writer Caryn Dolley, who joins us live from Cape Town. Caryn, you've written extensively on the subject matter. You've written one book. Another book is about to come out. We'll speak about that in a little while. Tell us who Nafis Modak is. He has said that he's just an ordinary businessman. But I do remember a couple of years ago, there's a picture of him meeting with Dudezane Zuma. You would say that the younger Zuma wouldn't meet with just some ordinary businessman, would he?
Well, very good point, Marcelle. Nafiz Modack has often insisted he isn't just an ordinary businessman, but since 2017 he's emerged in Cape Town as a figure who allegedly has been hell-bent on taking over, firstly, nightclub security in Cape Town. What was alleged in about, again, 2017 was that him, together with a group of men, tried to yank control from another more established grouping. And what followed was a lot of violence in and around the Western Cape, as well as court cases. Since then, he's been in and out of court. He was acquitted of extortion, yet he is still being arrested. So, yeah.
Now, he's made some very significant claims. I think one of them being that Lieutenant-Colonel Charl Kinnear, who we just mentioned, was on the take from one of his gang rivals. What are some of the other claims that he's made?
There have been several claims that have emerged since Nafiz Modack was arrested, and a number of these claims have come out via court cases he's central to. So one of the major claims or accusations that surfaced when he was previously accused of extortion was that Lieutenant-Colonel Kinnear and policeman Jeremy Veery, who were investigating him, were actually on the payroll of his alleged rivals, Mark Lithman and Jerome alias Donkey Boyson. Nothing came of those claims. No arrests were effected in terms of police officers. Several other claims have emerged, one being that during a bail application Nafiz Modack was central to, it emerged he claimed that the head of crime intelligence in the Western Cape effectively had his back. So we've seen a lot of claims against and among cops surfacing through court cases in which Mr. Modack is the focus of.
Now, he has he's been involved in other cases where he's been accused of. You have quite a bit of your writing focuses on following the guns, following the firearms. And one of them involved Mr. Modack. In 2020, there was a case involving here in Gauteng, police officers creating fraudulent firearm licenses for suspects. How significant are some of those cases that he's been accused in?
Well, that case, he was arrested in 2020, and the timing was very interesting because it was in the run-up to Lieutenant-Colonel Kinnear's murder. And if we look at that case and link other cases to it, there have been several other matters stemming from the Western Cape where police officers have been accused of either channeling firearms to gangsters or fraudulently creating the paperwork to get firearms to gangsters. So that case in which he is facing charges is critical because that case could prove that police officers are effectively fueling gang violence in the Western Cape, which is South Africa's gang epicenter.
Well, you've written a book called Enforcers, Inside Cape Town's Deadly Nightclub Battles. That came out a couple of years ago. You've got one coming out now in June called To the Wolves, How Traitor Cops Crafted South Africa's Underworld. And that really seems to be the golden thread through all of these cases that you've mentioned now, leading up to these big arrests this week as well. What are some of the details involving that tenuous relationship between the underworld and the police that will come out in this book of yours?
Well, that's spot on. It is sort of this continuous, ugly, glaring thread that we can't ignore. Somewhere along the lines, police officers must be lying. The Western Cape Police Service has been exceptionally factionalized. We've seen claim upon claim upon claim between police officers themselves. And for example, in December 2018, Colonel Kinnear wrote a complaint to his bosses in which he claimed that certain police officers with links to crime intelligence were effectively working against him and his colleagues. So the upcoming book will explore those links, those claims, and ultimately how beneath all these claims and counterclaims among police officers, residents are literally trapped in violence.
Explosive stuff expected there. Thank you so much. Caryn Dolley is an author. Her book coming out in June called To the Wolves, and she is also a writer for the Daily Maverick. If you really want to get to grips and just scratch underneath the surface of these daily news stories about arrests and gang violence, especially down in the Cape, do follow her on social media. Do look up some of her pieces. Really some fascinating research that she is able to string together to make it all make sense, or somehow try and make sense.